Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. I have my buddy Niraj from India. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing absolutely grand. India via Ireland.
You're via
For those
Ireland.
of you who are listening,
Anyway, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's 10 o'clock at night in Europe, and we are talking about Bon Jovi. I couldn't be happier. And for those who are listening, I got an old-fashioned slippery when wet t-shirt on as well.
Yes. It's 10 o'clock there. It's 5 o'clock here. I had to be honest with you. My bedtime is usually 8 or 9 o'clock. So I applaud you for staying up till 10 o'clock to do this.
No,
This is-
listen, Bon Jovi Discussions is such an amazing podcast. If you said let's do this at midnight my time, I would have done it at midnight my time. Because when you love a show and you get a chance to be on the show and talk
yeah,
about something you love, there's no way I was turning this down, you know?
yeah. Man, I appreciate that. I really do. And I know we've been working at this for a while to kind of get you on and stuff. And it finally came time. So I've been looking forward to this chat all week. So,
Oh,
but
thank you.
so before we get into our fun topic, I always like to ask my guests that come on, how did you become a Bon Jovi fan?
In 1985, I was touring with the Northern Ireland Youth Orchestra.
Okay.
And back then, it was a lot of it was orchestral music. A lot of it was a guy called Chris de Burr. A lot of it was pop, which was very big, like Wham. And all of a sudden, this song came on. I was like, Runaway. I'm like, what is that? It was amazing. And
Yeah.
then She Don't Know Me, and all these incredible songs break out and burning from who are these guys? And the guy gave me a cassette tape and it said Bon Jovi, and I thought, amazing. And he goes, do you want to hear more? I said, yeah. Then he put on 7800 Fahrenheit, which I
Oh
absolutely
man.
love. So for a year, I was showing everybody Bon Jovi cassettes in school. You got to hear who this band, and of course, nobody cared. And then a year later, You Could Love a Bad Name came out.
And
And all of a sudden,
everybody cared then.
everybody cared then. Then they realized how good this band was. But for a year earlier, I was telling everybody, you gotta hear Only Lonely. It's the greatest song I've ever heard in my life. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I say this to everybody. I'm so jealous you kind of got to see them from the beginning, and just kind of I said this in a previous episode. I became a fan in 2000. When Crush came out. This tall. Really I was 8 years old, but I've since then I have grown with them and have seen the last 24 years of the band. In ways it feels like I've been there since the beginning too. Obviously, I haven't, but with someone like yourself who can say that you've seen the band grow from, I don't want to say nothing because that's not what it is, but essentially pre-slippery, when they were trying to become something,
Yeah.
then becoming huge with slippery, remaining huge with New Jersey, and then their comeback in the 90s. And I don't want to call it a comeback, just reformation of the band, and just kind of seeing these four different decades is what I'm trying to get at. That's awesome. What's your favorite song
Of all time?
of all time? If you were stranded on an island and you could only have one song for the rest of your life, what Bon Jovi song would you pick?
I can't say Living on a Prayer and I can't say You Love a Bad Name. That's too easy.
Yeah,
So
gotta go
I,
deep.
I did a top five Bon Jovi songs last week, which I replied to on Twitter.
Yeah,
And it had "I Die for You," "Living in Sin," "You Want to Make a Memory," and "Only Lonely." I have to go with "Only Lonely" because when I heard the first two Bon Jovi albums, I thought it was amazing. But "Only Lonely" was a song for
yeah,
me. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, it was just okay. I was I was only 13, so my musical knowledge wasn't great. But
yeah.
oh, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was
That's what makes
incredible.
it. But see, people say that to me all the time, and not to interrupt you there. People say that to me all the time. It's like, well, I love the song, but I wasn't musically inclined then. Well, I think that's what makes music so pure because if you like, let me back up for a second. For like me, I play guitar.
Mhm.
And before guitar, I was like, oh yeah, this sounds good. And it's a pure love because you're not critiquing it. You're not, oh, they could have done this with this chord or that, blah, blah, blah. It's just pure because you're not musically inclined, so you don't know what it takes to make a song. And then I learned guitar, and I think for me, learning guitar has allowed me to appreciate songs even more because you learn the complexity to it, the dynamics and stuff like that. But when but going back, I think it's really good to listen to music when you aren't musically inclined because you can't really critique, and it's more of a pure love that you have for a song, if that makes sense. Instead of, it's like the rock critics who know how to play different instruments and this and that, and they're just critiquing and breaking up the song. It's like that takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going on a tangent, but let's get
That's
into our
okay.
let's get into our fun topic for the day. And I love this song. It This is one of those songs that should have been put on the album Slippery When Wet. This is, how Living on a Prayer was um almost didn't make the album, and Richie had to convince John to put it
I
on.
heard you talking about that. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe when I heard that.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah, so Richie had to convince John to put Leonard Pearlie on because John didn't think it was that good. Well, this song that we're talking about, Edge of a Broken Heart, was a huge missed opportunity, and we're going to talk about that song today because it is a gem. I know in the diehard fan base, like you and I, and amongst others, absolutely love this song. Like we can't praise it enough. So
Mhm.
let's dive right in. A little bit of overview, real quick. It was written by John Ritchie and Desmond Child. I think it was. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure this was written very early on in the Slippery sessions, and was one of those songs that kind of kept going. Um, Obviously, it's an outtake from Slippery. It was originally put for this movie Disorderlies, and it was on the soundtrack. And really, that didn't do well. Yeah, and reminder there, we're talking, and I know you can speak from experience here. This is back in the 80s. The only time people ever listened to a song from a soundtrack was whether they watched the movie or bought the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And so I think it just, but if it was put on Slippery and released as a proper single with a music video, radio stations everywhere, and I know Edge of a Broken Heart, it did touch radio here, but not very much. But I really do think if it was properly released on the album and on radio and so forth, I think this could have been as huge of a hit as Living on a Prayer was, and Bad Name and Wanted. And
Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting because disorderlies is an American word. And the UK, I'm pretty sure it was called paramedics, not disorderlies. I think the movie came out late 80s, possibly. And the only reason I watched it was the guy who was in it starred in Adventures in Babysitting. He had a brief part with, because I worship Elizabeth Shue. She was
I love that
the
movie.
actress in Karate Kid. And I was a teenager. I had two dreams in life: to be the first Indian Bon Jovi and to marry Elizabeth Shue. Because when you're a teenager, that's all you want to do. You've
Hey,
no idea what the
dream
purpose of
big,
life is.
buddy.
I think everybody probably did, but that was my dream. So I watched everything she did. So Adventures in Babysitting, and the guy was in it, and then he was actually starring in Disorderlies, which was paramedics. And when Edge of a Broken Heart came on, I went, that sounds like Bon Jovi. Why haven't I heard that song before?
Yeah.
And of course, back in those days, there was no internet, and you had to wait a month for smash hits or some kind of magazine to come out before you could read about it. And there was no way for me to search. There was no library I could go to. I had no idea how to find the song. So I think I bought the Disorderly soundtrack on cassette. I think that's what I did just to hear Edge of a Broken Heart. I think that was it. But it was so long ago, of course, I can't really remember that.
Yeah, man. I also wanted to add just a side note too that this was later put. This song was obviously on Disorderly soundtrack, which not many people really knew. But it was later put on the 2003 Crossroads Special Edition box set, the Sound and Vision, where it had the Crossroads album. It had I'm going to be a nerd here, but the Sound and Vision first disc allowed America to get the Never Say Goodbye on it because in America in 1994, Never Say Goodbye and In These Arms was not put on it. So in 2003, they did a Sound and Vision where they put first disc Crossroad with In These Arms, Never Say Goodbye. Only the diehards are going to know what I'm talking about here. And then the second disc was some like rarities, demos, and stuff. And then the third disc was Live from London, 1995 DVD. So, but anyway, so Edge of a Broken Heart was put on that. And then later on, the 2004 100 Million Bon Jovi Fans Can't Be Wrong.
Yeah, there
Um,
you go. Look
right,
at this bad boy.
right there,
This
put
is
on that.
this is beautiful. I mean,
And,
I've still got it all on the inside. It's lovely.
yeah.
I love this.
And so disc three was so I remember getting the box set, and I remember begging my dad because the box set came out in November. And I remember it was like 60, $70. And my dad was like, well, this is going to be a Christmas present. I said, okay, as long as I get it on the first day, because I got crushed on the first day. One night, bounce, this, that feels right. And so I wanted to get, keep the momentum going and get the box on the first day. So I begged my dad to get me the box at the first day. So we went to Kmart, he got it for me. And then he's like, well, you're not getting it till Christmas. And so I was what, 12 then. I begged my dad. I said, I'll do extra chores. I'll get good grades in school. Please let me pick out one disc and listen to it. And then I'll give you the box set back and open it on Christmas. After hours of begging and pleading, he finally let me have the box. That's where the story is going is I picked out disc three. And obviously the first track is Edge of a Broken Heart. I was so hooked on that song. I actually replayed it over and over and over and missed out on a lot of the rest of it because I only had an hour to listen to it.
Mhm.
And I couldn't wait for Christmas time to come so I could get that out and listen to that song again. So that was kind of my introduction to that song. Um, and you know what else I think is kind of I thought about lately? It's a shame that they've never done this song live.
Yes, I agree.
You know, I don't know if you know the tribute bands, but they're one of the best Bon Jovi tribute bands out there. But they on the 2019 cruise, I think they opened up a show with Edge of a Broken Heart, and it was phenomenal.
Must have been incredible.
Yeah. But like I always imagine what it would have been like, especially like 1986 or or New Jersey era Bon Jovi playing that song, You know what else I was thinking too, just kind of fanboying here a little bit. How cool would it have been if you had John and Richie side by side playing this song acoustic?
I've never thought of that because when I hear the song, I listen to the song a lot in preparation
Yeah.
for tonight, just to remind myself how great a song it was. And I don't really like the whole download thing. I'm a sucker for original CDs because for me, there's such a joy in opening it up, reading the
Yeah.
booklet. I like to see who writes the songs, which is why, to those of you listening, I'm holding up 100 million Bon Jovi fans can't be wrong, a box set because it was so cool. But when you hear the guitar intro from Richie, it's so cool. And then
Yeah.
take on the drum going bam, 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 bam,
Yeah.
bam. And it's just
Yeah.
beautiful. It's such a great introduction to a song,
Yeah.
you know?
And we'll get into that musically here in a second. But, I was just thinking like it'd be a different dynamic sound wise, but I still think this would be like a really fun John and Richie acoustic song.
Mm.
And I wonder if there are demo tapes because a lot of the songs that John wrote back then was from a recording tape, and then he would build from that. So I'm hoping one day, obviously on Backstage with Bon Jovi, they already got all their slippery stuff up, and that wasn't in there. But I'm hoping one day we'll get that. Let's get into the meaning of the song. For me, I think it's pretty much aftermath of a relationship. Like the title goes, "Edge of a Broken Heart," and it's showing someone's vulnerability as they're heartbroken, and they're reminiscing a relationship, and they're currently going through rejection. Like in the line, "You're with him who's on the wrong side now." Um, and I think the chorus shows that struggle to cope with the pain and the uncertainty of how things are going to progress and having to move on. And that's my whole take on the song. What's yours?
Well, being a complete geek, I printed the lyrics out.
My
I, I, I
man.
I actually saw it because I wanted to have a look at it. I
Sure.
said hello, but she just turned away. So I don't think they were in a relationship. I think he liked her. She just was not interested in him, and so she went off the other guy. Hey
That's
Romeo,
another
what
way.
you doing with my girl? Who are you using now? Will I turn and walk away? I think he wanted to be with her, but she didn't
Okay.
choose him.
See, this is what's great. See, that's what's so good about music and like these discussions here. It's cool to see a different interpretation and not the same opinion, how we view
Mm,
a song. You know, you look at a lot of like debut 7800 songs and they're post-relationship breakup songs.
mm.
And that's kind of where I was taking Edge of a Broken Heart too, because there's certain lines in there too, um, that makes you think that they were in a relationship. But then like you just said, also times too where like maybe they weren't, but that's the whole thing about music interpretation. Um, do you have a favorite lyric of the song?
I do, and you can tell I'm a geek.
I got two. I couldn't pick between these two, so I was like, I'll just do both.
I'm on the outside looking inside. You're with him who's on the wrong side now. And I love the word now, it's like an extra word, but it works beautifully. I'm on
Yeah.
the outside looking inside. You're with him who's on the wrong side now. That's my favorite lyric.
But see, that's where I get the relationship interpretation though, right? That like now, who's on the wrong side now?
Mhm.
Meaning that they've been in the wrong before. I don't know. I got two. I've tried to call, but no one answers. To silhouettes, a private dancer. Lights go dim as the music starts to fade.
Mhm.
And then I love, we'll talk about this in, well, I guess I'll say it now. When, the background, and you don't get this in a lot of Bon Jovi songs, when John has isolated vocals in the back and the turn and walk, the turn and walk away line. It's very isolated background JBJ vocals. You don't, like I said, you don't get to hear that a lot in a lot of Bon Jovi songs. So that was kind of cool. And then my other favorite line is the bridge. When I hold out my hands, I'll be reaching for you. I give it all that I've got. That's all I can do. When you're waiting for love, I'll be waiting for you. Like that those three lines like really show you the vulnerability, the desperation, the longing for that person. Like right there, that's like when you're really opening your heart up to this person and saying, "This is all that I've got. That's all I can do. When you're ready for me, I'll be waiting for you." I think those are just fabulous lines, and the way that John delivers those lines too.
Yeah, that for me, even though I do like the lyrics you mentioned, the way that John sings it, he does more than sing it, Jerry. He
Yeah.
just sings it with such rawness.
Yep.
When you're waiting for love, I'll be waiting for you. I mean, it's like the
Oh,
singing. It reminds me so much of Living in Sin at the end when he's screaming and you can really feel the pain. And here I really
yep.
felt the pain and the anguish and the
Yeah.
yearning. It was just beautiful. That's why one of the reasons it's such a great song.
I know, absolutely. Let's get into the song musically. Um, obviously, I want to reiterate, I think this could have been a huge hit, and I truly think this is probably one of the best songs that came out of the Superwoman era.
Mm.
So the song starts with this really awesome, good, like dun 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 dun, 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 and then he does some bends. I think there's a whammy in there at some parts. But and then like you said a little bit ago, that drum build up. It's just Richie and Tico building that song up, and then all of a sudden you get the full on band. The classic sound of the keyboard is what really makes that song stand out too. I think. Um,
Yeah, when people talk about Bon Jovi, they're always talking about John and Richie most of the time.
mhm.
But what I love about this song is Tico is just amazing in this song.
Oh, I
Dave's
know.
keyboard's superb. You can hear Alec in the bass. It feels like such a band song as well,
Yep,
which I think is one of
exactly.
the reasons I love that. And probably I'd Die For You in my top five because I feel it's the band I can hear, not just John or Richie.
Yep, exactly. And keep in mind, this has always been my opinion, but you look at a lot of the 80s hair bands back then, and they were all, I mean, 80s is my favorite time of music. Poison, Motley Crue, Kiss, Cinderella, Skid Row, Rat, all those
Mhm.
bands, but they all had a common theme: two guitars, bass, drums. That's it. Bon Jovi really stood out because they had something different, a keyboard player, which only really a lot of pop bands did, and a rock band having a keyboard player. So that made them really stand out. I think that really made their sound stand out because you listen to songs like Runaway, that keyboard intro. You listen to like Living on a Prayer, or like the intro to Bad Name alongside of Richie's. You hear the keys and stuff, and so there's a lot of authenticity to the songs because of David, the way that he plays. Um, but anyway, so yeah, so this David's keys really complement this song too. And there's some really cool guitar. Do you play guitar?
I don't. I was a keyboard player as a kid and a drummer.
Yeah.
So for me in the 80s, which is my favorite time ever, it was always Bon Jovi. It was Bruce Springsteen who had Roy Bittan, who also played in Bat Out of Hell. And it was REO Speedwagon who had Neil Donkey. Again, a superb pianist. So
Yeah.
again, it was the keyboard-based rock bands that I loved rather than just, I've seen Tom Kiefer and Cinderella and they're amazing, but the
Mhm.
keyboards just give it that extra push for the other bands, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to touch on this a little bit ago too. You were mentioning about how awesome Tico sounds on here. And I love the way that Tico pretty much drives this song, at least with John vocally, because the
Mm,
way that they go into the intro and then the verse, and then the way Tico drives his drum in there, leading into like after the turn and walk away, and then the full John I can't and just the way that Tico drums into each section of the song, that kind of leads the way for John vocally. I think that was pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, the one other thing I like too about the chorus is the band really did a lot of this stuff in the first three albums where the band did backing vocals in the chorus and John would have a lead line. And so in this song, the band is singing On Edge of a Broken Heart in the background, and then John is, with vulnerability and emotion and heartbreak, I'm a man, and then band on the edge of a broken heart. And then the way,
Yeah,
and then he
and here I stand. I
yeah,
know it's beautiful.
and as he's going, he's intensifying those lyrics. I'm a man, here I stand. Um, yeah, it's incredible. Um, feel welcome to hop in anytime. I'm just going crazy on this song
I
here.
love the fact there's two guitars. There's like two parts to the guitar solo. So you have like the first part. I think you got David on the keyboards and
Hmm.
Richie. Then you have the second part where Richie's doing
Yeah,
the solo, and I love that you don't really hear two parts to guitar solo much anymore.
yeah,
And again, you're a young kid going, "What? It's so different to anything I'd heard at the time."
yeah.
It's just incredible, you know?
Yeah, and we talk about David, and his keys there. Right before that actual Richie guitar solo, you get some like David, where he's holding notes and stuff, and has that
Mm.
classic '80s sound. And then obviously then Richie comes in with his playing. I thought that was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts about the song too is I love the way that John delivers the second verse. Um, the whole silhouette lines and all that. Actually, I think this might be the third verse. I don't know how exactly first, second, third, fourth goes, but um,
Second verse is I'm on the outside looking inside.
yeah,
Is it? You're on the wrong side now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
I'm
still
talking
thinking
after chorus, after the first chorus.
after the first chorus,
Yeah. I tried to call,
um,
but no one answers to silhouettes or private dancers.
private
Like,
dancers, lights go dim as the music starts to fade. I'm the one who needs you now. Can you believe it? I'll be there to catch you when you fall.
yeah. And I love that I'll be there to catch you when you fall. And then, John screams, I'm a man. Then it goes into the chorus. I think that's really cool too. Um, One thing that I will also want to add, especially at the end when John is screaming,
Mm,
"Waiting for you, only for you," repeatedly as the song ends. Man, that shows heartache and vulnerability and what the song is trying to convey. And yeah, do you have anything else you wanted to say? I know I kind of kept going on and
No,
on.
I think it was once Bruce Springsteen, who's a good friend of John's and a mentor of John's, who said, rock and roll is heartbreaking lyrics to kick-ass music. And
Yeah,
that's what this is, because it's really heartbreaking lyrics, but when I sing this song, which I do out loud, even though I can't sing, I also have a smile on my face, which I shouldn't really do. It's a heartbreaking song, but it makes you feel so good. It's
yeah,
like singing Thunder Road. You shouldn't really smile when you sing Thunder Road by Springsteen, but you have to because it's just so epic.
yeah. I agree with you. And like I said, this song is one of those songs that got away. I mean, I think this could have been a massive song for the band. I think it would have
I'm
been,
not,
like
I'm
I
not sure I
said,
should say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. I think there's another song called Borderline, which came out of the Slippery Sessions. And when I
yeah,
was younger, I preferred Borderline to Edge of a Broken Heart because it had the Bon Jovi sound, which was
yeah,
kick ass. But as I got older, the lyrics of Borderline don't quite work for me. But now I'm older, and you appreciate music differently when you're
Mhm.
older. And Edge of a Broken Heart, the lyrics are so much superior. And I think that's why that song, because as a kid, I preferred Borderline. But as an adult, since probably my mid 30s onwards, I would say Edge of a Broken Heart, without a doubt, was the
Yeah.
best song that didn't make Slippery.
Yep, I agree with you. There's a lot of songs that are they're on YouTube. I have some here, that were outtakes from Slippery, and you could see why they were outtakes. But the two really good ones were, like I said, Borderline and Edge of a Broken Heart. So, but do you have anything else you want to say about Edge of a Broken Heart?
I would just say to anybody who has not heard this song, don't
Listen to
listen.
it.
Don't just listen to it on YouTube. Don't download it off Apple. To those of you who are listening, buy this gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's You open it up and it feels. I mean, you know this as well, Jerry. You're a collector.
Oh
When you
yeah.
buy a physical piece, it just feels different. You feel like you're part of the band. You
Hmm.
feel like you're connected to their history.
Yeah.
It's a certain kind of magic. And I've downloaded albums before and I've downloaded music. It just doesn't have any
Yeah.
emotional connection with me at all. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Go and buy it. Buy 100 million Bon Jovi fans can't be wrong, and just enjoy this song. Not just that song. There's so many good songs in that. These arms are open all night. I think it's pretty cool. And also hearing Richie sing, if I can't have your love, and Tico doing Only in My Dreams. I mean, for me, just hearing those songs and the magic Bon Jovi brought to releasing just so many good tracks.
Yeah.
And I hope on their 40th anniversary, they'll put something out either on CD or in Backstage with Bon Jovi that will have different acoustic versions and different outtakes. Like they've had four versions, I think, of was it Runaway or She Don't Know Me? I've just four different versions on Backstage of Bon Jovi, and
Yeah.
I
Runaway.
want to hear more versions of these songs.
Yep, me too. And before we conclude here, I'll end it with this. That's what I'm hoping for. What I think would be great is have a massive box set and make it on demand. Say, okay, only 1,000 of these are going to be made, and obviously the diehards are going to be the ones who buy it. But you put all the demos and audio that's on Backstage, put it on CDs, and then like the footage that's like the videos and stuff, put it on a DVD, put the documentary on the box set and stuff, and then do like a book with it of all the pictures that are on Backstage. Pretty much take everything that's on Backstage with Bon Jovi, put it on a box set. Audio wise, visual wise, and book. I guess that falls into visual wise, but so we'll see what happens. I guess, right?
I'd like to see a list of the Bon Jovi songs. I got a Springsteen one about all his songs and their meanings.
Yeah.
And about a month ago, I got REO Speedwagon up here somewhere. There you go. REO Speedwagon, every album, every song. I want to see something like that with Bon Jovi,
Yeah.
whereby John Ritchie and different members of the band will talk, and even
Yeah.
the contributors, whether it's John Shanks or Billy Falcon or Desmond Child, I want to see contributions from them and David
Yeah.
Bryan, and just that would be so cool.
Yep. I agree with you. Anyway, buddy, stay on. I'm going to end the chat here, but thank you for taking the time out of your busy night to come on and do a podcast episode. I'd love to have you on again. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to do this
No,
with me.
pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for Bon Jovi discussions. It's reignited my love of Bon Jovi. I've always worshipped as a band, but then a couple of years I started going Springsteen direction and following Springsteen and just listened to other bands, which I really have enjoyed. But since your podcast came out, it's really reignited my love of Bon Jovi and my deep appreciation of them. So thank you so, so much for doing that. And because I travel a lot and work, I listen to your podcast when I'm traveling, and it just puts me in such a great mood. So thank you so much, Jerry.
I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.